Our first order of business will be citizens' time, and I see that no one has signed up for citizens' time.
I would like to.
You would like to, Ann?
Well, yeah.
I assume we'll let Annie B sign up. Come on down, Annie B. We'll...
Can we vote on that?
I forgot to sign up. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I'm here tonight for a nice purpose. Last January, February, Bill and Karen Smith came to me and they asked me, you know, we need to honor the fact that Edith Bolin Wilson was born in Smithfield in West County. And so I had a resolution done making October the 15th officially Edith Bolin Wilson Day in perpetuity. Okay. So I have the shortened version of it, if I may.
Please, Ann. Thank you.
Whereas Edith Bolin Wilson, the 35th First Lady of the United States and the wife of President Woodrow Wilson, was born in Smithfield, Virginia on October 15, 1872, and whereas a modest second-story residence located above the street-level storefronts at 145 East Main Street in Smithfield was the birthplace of Edith Bolin Wilson and home to her family, including 10 siblings, grandparents, extended family, and 26 canaries. And whereas Edith Bolin received her primary education from parents and grandparents at their home, and before leaving Smithfield at age 15 to study in Abingdon, Virginia, and later in Richmond, Virginia. And whereas the Edith Bolin Wilson Birthplace Foundation was founded by William J. and Farron W. Smith on October 15, 2005, to provide for the restoration of the Bolin home as the birthplace and childhood home of the First Lady, Edith Bolin Wilson, and to honor the First Lady's legacy, her contributions to this country, and the resulting positive example and strong inspiration to women now, therefore be it resolved by the House of Delegates, the Senate concurring, that the General Assembly hereby recognize the town of Smithfield and West County as the birthplace and childhood home of First Lady Edith Bolin Wilson, and be it further resolved that the Clerk of the House of Delegates prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to Danny McDaniel of the Lee County Board of Supervisors. And I would like to say that in the original resolution, people called her the first woman president because when President Wilson had his stroke, she handled everything, supposedly from his bedside. And there were gentlemen down there that would not let me put that in. I fought it as hard as I could, but it was the first time in 6 years that I'd gotten anything through the Rules Committee, and I didn't want to push my luck. So with that, I'd like to present it.
Well, Annie, thank you very much. Did the Bolin, does Farron and them, do they have a copy of this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Everybody's got copies.
All right. Good. And
And on October 15th, I will tell everyone, on October 15th, they have planned a nice reception and a nice day at the museum, and I hope everybody here, tell your friends and everybody will come and join them, because I think this is the only First Lady that was born in Virginia, and we would like to honor her, and it's a prestige for our county.
All right. Well, it's not many people who have their 140th birthday celebrated, is there?
No. So I thank you all.
Miss ABC.
Ann?
Beg your pardon?
We've got you on later on the agenda also a letter you wrote
About legislation?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll leave that to you. It's my brother's birthday, and I'm handing out here.
Is he 140?
He's 139. He and Coy are the same age. They were war babies. I'm not saying what war. It's the letter I wrote to all of you.
Yes.
Well, the thing, it still goes that, if you don't mind, I'll just say now, that any way that we can work together, if you and Danny or whoever would like to come to our office on it. I may have to work from home for a day or two, but we will, I'll be glad to work with you. I've already worked with a couple of the other county boards. I have 3 counties this year. And I've already worked with one of them, so there may be some things in there that probably that you're all interested in the same thing. So be glad to work with you.
Well, Annie, I appreciate your support.
And I'm sorry that I'm the last one on there because I really will be gone.
I appreciate
I have to go to Richmond.
your support in the past, and I know you do everything you possibly can for us, and we do appreciate that support.
Thank you, Annie. Gentlemen, ladies, nice to see all of you.
Okay. Our next order of business is the minutes, the previous meeting of September the 25th, 2012. Can I have a motion? All right, I have a motion to approve. Motion to approve, and second, is there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were presented to you? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we will move down to the payment of invoices. Mr. Dalton, I believe there's an invoice that you want to remove.
Yes, sir. Check number 300828339 with South End Construction. I request that be removed and voided.
Okay. Now, how will that change the total? We don't need to just subtract that amount. I think we can do this all in one motion. Just give me a motion to approve the invoices, except for the check number. I saw that in here just a second.
30082. It's on page 31.
Page 31.
3008284.
$50,344.30.
Okay. Yes, sir. I got it.
I'll make a motion that we pay the invoices with the exception of check number 3008284 made payable to South End Construction in the amount of $50,344.30.
And then we void that.
With that exception.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other questions about any of the other invoices? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Artie?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And aye. Passes 7-0. Thank you. We'll move to old business. And the first order of business is the Crooked Road National Heritage Designation. And I believe we have a guest speaker here today to present the program concerning this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all very much.
If you don't mind, just give us your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Jack Hensel-Wood. I'm Executive Director of the Crooked Road, Virginia's Heritage Music Trail, and with me tonight is Woody Crenshaw, our president.
Okay, thank you.
And what we wanted to do tonight, we appreciate you trying to be brief but informative, and you all had invited us to come and provide information regarding the proposed designation of the Crooked Road as a National Heritage Area. So we can go, your screen has a brief PowerPoint that we put together for this, and so if you want to advance that. This is Southwest Virginia. This is the Crooked Road region. And the Crooked Road was created in 2003 by Southwest Virginia, largely by local governments. The road you can see there winds through originally 10 counties. Most of the counties that border North Carolina. There's a little fish hook up at the western end up into Dickinson and Wise counties. So those original 10 counties were the sort of the founders, you might say, of the Crooked Road when it first started. But it wasn't long before the other counties in Southwest Virginia raised their hand and said, wait a minute, we've got amazing heritage music in Giles County, in Wythe County, in Tazewell. And this, nothing could be more true. Today, everything we do is focused on helping communities celebrate their heritage music in all 19 counties. And what is our, when we boil it all down, what the Crooked Road is about is those two things, creating jobs and improving the quality of life in Southwest Virginia. Next from there. So the organization is a private, nonprofit, 501c3 corporation, and this is what our board consists of. Local governments, tourism organizations, venues, some of which I'm sure you know, musicians, individuals, and planning district commissions. And this is important as we get ready to talk here in just a second about National Heritage Area. There's been, I think, some misinformation out there about the whole National Heritage Areas, and this is certainly a key point. We don't have any property plans to get involved in having or managing property, and that's not what we do. So what are National Heritage Areas? Well, they're places that are important to the American experience. And you'll find them in places where people who live there care enough about their history to want to have that designation and want to be recognized as a place that has a story to tell that's important to the American experience. They are also, for us, of course, the Crooked Road, it's about the musical history and musical heritage here, which has had a profound impact on American music. Places like the Carter Fold, places like the birthplace of country music in Bristol, which the U.S. Congress already designated as the birthplace of country music. This music here has really, truly had a profound impact. And the National Heritage Areas are designated by the U.S. Congress. Here's a map. There are 49 of them in the U.S. They've been around since about 1984. And I'll go ahead and advance there. We'll talk a little bit about just three or four examples of them. One just to the north of us in West Virginia is the National Coal Heritage Area. And they're interested in that coal history about labor struggles. And they have a story to tell there that's important to the national experience, and that's what they're about. Shenandoah Battlefields, Virginia, is a National Heritage Area. And they, of course, are telling a piece of the Civil War history, some very important battlefields. I'm sure many of you have visited there. The Blue Ridge National Heritage Area to the south of us in North Carolina. They are interested in folk heritage there, the music of that region, the mountain region there. They're interested in Cherokee history. And that's a very compelling part of the American story as well. And Tennessee Civil War National Heritage Area is the entire state of Tennessee. Is a national heritage area where they tell the story of the Civil War through Shiloh and various events that occurred there. So why become a national heritage area? There's two things that we hope to gain from a national heritage area designation. One is this recognition that, yes indeed, what's the music you have here is an important part of the overall American experience. And federal funding to help do what we do. That funding comes in the form of a match, so it's 1-to-1. And if our $275,000 budget for this fiscal year, the entire thing became eligible for match funding, then, well, that would be the cap that we could possibly hope to get, $275,000. How do they work? You have a management plan that is put together that spells out what it is about your area that's special, what you hope to do with it, to promote it. It's very much what the Crooked Road's been doing for 9 years, in our case, is telling the world about this incredible heritage music we have here. There's an annual work plan that's put together that says this is specifically how we plan to spend the funding we get for this coming year. And both of those are developed at the local level, and they're reviewed and approved by the National Park Service. And what would we do with that funding? Well, this may look a little bit familiar because it's what I listed as our mission about 10 slides ago. We would use it to do exactly what we do now, create jobs and improve the quality of life in Southwest Virginia, and boil down what we're about. There has been a good deal of misinformation circulated out about what the Crooked Road is about, what we plan to do, and a lot of misconceptions been floated out there about what national heritage areas do or can do or can't do and so forth. So I want to go through just a few of those. There's been a number of them. First misconception that if you have become a national heritage area, that the National Heritage Area unit or management group has the power of eminent domain to take land. That is not correct. Prohibited from doing so. Federal funding that you get, you're prohibited from using it to purchase property. Private property rights protection language is included typically in the legislation, and I did bring that, and I'll share that with you. This is the language that happens to be in one of the other ones I mentioned there, Journey Through Hallowed Ground National Heritage Area. And this is the language that we suggested would be appropriate to put in a Crooked Road National Heritage Area to ensure that people's property rights are protected. It's also the kind of language that Congressman Griffith, who has supported this proposed designation, has emphatically stated would be in any kind of bill that he would craft to create a Crooked Road National Heritage Area. Here's another misconception, that if you become a National Heritage Area, you're under the ultimate authority of the National Park Service and the Department of the Interior. That's not the case. National Heritage Areas are locally created and they're locally managed. And you have the National Park Service providing you funding and providing you technical assistance should you wish to have that. And I think the fact that the entire state of Tennessee is a National Heritage Area is proof enough for me that the state of Tennessee, I haven't seen any evidence that it's under the ultimate authority of the National Park Service and the Department of the Interior. National Heritage Areas do not provide for consent of the governed, and we feel that consent of the governed is provided through elected members of Congress who represent all the citizens of Wythe County, of the state of Virginia, at the congressional level where national heritage areas must be designated. Then I think there may be a duplication there. Here's another misconception, that the National Park Service uses that funding to manipulate localities to do their bidding. Well, I think Southwest Virginia, I don't know what the dollar total is of how much federal funding Southwest Virginia has been the beneficiary of over the years, but when I look around, it appears to me that boards like this still govern what happens here, and I just don't see that. Although I will say that folks that have a real concern with this, I'd love to know of a grant funding agency that doesn't like to have a say in how their money is spent, and if you know some that don't care how you spend the money, I would sure like to get in touch with. So, and I've got thank you there. That's the conclusion for me. Woody wanted to talk with you a minute too. One thing I realized probably should have been in here would be sort of a time frame for this and how it unfolds. There is a feasibility study that's done initially, and Crooked Road did that almost 2 years ago. And you look at and try to answer that question, are you really a story of national importance? And we feel we demonstrated that in the Heritage feasibility study. That feasibility study is reviewed by National Heritage Area staff at the National Park Service. They look at it and they try to make suggestions for improving it. They also, after they made those comments, part of the next process was public hearings. So we had 12 public hearings over a course of 2 weeks throughout Southwest Virginia, everywhere from Clintwood to Rocky Mount. All that public comment, every bit of it, needs to be incorporated into that feasibility study, and all the questions and comments answered and addressed and looked at to see if it can improve that feasibility study. And at that point, and so now I'm talking the end of this year, I hope that the Crooked Road can complete that part of it, to send it back, that feasibility study, back to the National Heritage Area staff, for them to do their final review. There could be some back and forth there till both we and they, or both, feel like that feasibility study is as good as it can be. And at that point, it would have to be introduced as legislation in the U.S. Congress by our representatives. And the time frame after that point, I'm not going to have a guess. Hard to say. The federal government, like the rest of us, has a lot on their plate, and National Heritage Area, dare say, are probably not at the top. So that's the timeline that I wanted to let you know. And maybe Woody, if you want to speak, and then I'm sure we'll be glad to answer any questions.
And excuse me, sir, would you make sure you give your name and first and last name for the record?
Yes, my name is Woody Crenshaw, and Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. It's good to be here with you. I'm from Floyd County, and I've been currently serving as the president and chairman of the board of the Crooked Road. I've been with the organization almost from the beginning, and I'm a businessman. I'm a farmer in Floyd County, and I happen to have the great privilege of owning the Floyd Country Store, which is one of the major venues on the Crooked Road. And I just really wanted to come before you and let you know that the Crooked Road is made up of the people and the communities, counties of this place we call Southwest Virginia. As you saw from Jack's slide, our board of directors involves over 80 people. I sit and try to chair that meeting with 80 people from all over Southwest Virginia. It's a challenge, but it's like that because the organization is from the grassroots of this place, and we have for many years been trying to identify and support local music. We have programs that teach fiddle and banjo to young musicians. We have venues all over the region, which are places where musicians come and jam, where there's concerts. We're doing what we can to showcase this skill and this music, this talent that lives here in this place. Now, the National Heritage Area has to come out of this place too. Can't be imposed from D.C. or Richmond. And if the counties of Southwest Virginia don't feel like they can support it, probably just not going to happen. I think there are a lot of benefits from it, but I think that we have to go at this thing as a whole group, or it's probably just not going to happen. You know, the Crooked Road came about during Mark Warner's governorship, and his Virginia Works program was the beginning of a number of initiatives, the Crooked Road being one of them. Governor Kane came along, big supporter. Governor Bob McDonnell is now a big supporter. Rick Boucher was not only a supporter of the Crooked Road, but was the first elected official to help us start this movement toward the National Heritage Area. Morgan Griffith has supported it. It's been across party lines, and 5 PDCs support it. 19 counties and 60 localities have all come together to create this organization that we call the Crooked Road and move the cultural heritage of Southwest Virginia forward in a way that I think we deserve. You know, at the country store, every Friday night we have 300 or 400 people show up from all over the place. Not just around the country, but all over the world. We have a little tradition that we give a country store baseball cap away to the person who comes from the furthest away. And only 2 or 3 times in a year will it be somebody from the lower 48. It's people from all over the world. What we're trying to do is we're trying to build our communities, our musical heritage in a way, and it's inconceivable to me that the federal government would somehow impose property rights or would infringe property rights over that very strong, solid, local base of political support and community support. I think that if we make a decision about a national heritage area, it needs to be a decision not based on something that might kind of should happen that we can't really get our hands on, but what we have now that we see. It's the bird in the hand. And we feel that the heritage area will help the Crooked Road and Round the Mountain and these other organizations to become more viable, bring more economic development, more cultural heritage opportunities, more visitors to the region. That's why we're doing it. And we're very happy to answer any questions you might have. We're proud of what we're doing, and we ask for your support on this.
Are there any questions?
Okay, on the federal funding piece, you have to have a matching local dollar. So I assume that this funding is from the counties that are part of the organization. Is that correct? And it looks like you're getting about close to 90,000 from the counties, towns, and cities, according to what we were presented with. But you said 275. So what are some of the other sources, and what would the expect? Or is there? It looks like some of the. Is it based on population? Is it based on number of attractions in your county or city, or how does that work?
Well, the funding that comes from local governments who have such a hand in creating the Crooked Road, really what we try to do with that is leverage that in every possible way. So you're exactly right. It's about 90,000. And so about another 90,000 of that is a grant that we got to do some advertising and some touch screens at major venues to help visitors that one know about another one and so forth. And so this is actually another example of trying to, as an organization, take that local funding and find a match for it and make it go much, much further. And a one-to-one match would go pretty far.
But you can't get the match off grant money. It has to be.
Now, I can't get the match off federal grant money.
But you could off state.
Right. As far as I know, the only restriction they have is you can't use any other federal dollars
No,
to match it.
That's their dollars.
Other funding you could.
Let me play devil's advocate here for just a second. Mr. Crenshaw, I've been to the Floyd Country Store, not on Friday night, but, you know, on Saturday, and it's a wonderful place to go, and one of the few places left that I know that you can buy clothing sack. But I think a lot of people's concerns, you know, certainly are once something gets designated as a heritage area, that it may very well take away, maybe not property rights, but maybe, you know, some freedom. So let me ask a question, and I apologize for this seeming like maybe a silly question, but let me give you a little bit of an extreme example. If, Mr. Crenshaw, if you decided, I mean, if this was a national heritage area, and you decided to close the country store and put in a modern, up-to-date laundromat, you would have the freedom to do that without interference from the federal government?
I certainly would, except for the fact they'd run me out of town on a regular.
I know that. This is hypothetical. Yes. I said it was an extreme question.
No, but it's the right question, and I would say absolutely yes. It does not, now it's interesting because the Floyd Country Store is a for-profit business.
Mm-hmm.
And I can make the decision to change it to a laundromat if I chose to do it, if my wife would let me. But we are not giving up our rights to do business in any way we want as business people. And the Crooked Road being the Crooked Road National Heritage Area actually will help me run a better business. It will not limit me in what activities that I can engage in.
Can you undesignate yourself as part of the National Heritage Area? I mean, I know that there are, you know, major venues, as you all talk about, but if for whatever reason...
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I would say part of it is if a place becomes a national heritage area, it does so because it has certain groups who want to preserve that heritage, promote it, and so forth. So there's an effective die-off if that management entity goes away and there's no one there to pick that up. I suppose you would still have a designation, but you wouldn't be getting any advantage out of it. You wouldn't be getting any federal funding.
And actually, I'm not talking about an area. I'm talking about, you know, some of these individual venues. I mean, if once they are listed, you know, as a major venue on the national, you know, heritage area, can they choose to be undesignated as part of that national heritage area?
I would say this. I don't know that a national heritage area has ever been undesignated as an area. But this initiative to designate does not restrict any individual business, however they may be related to the Crooked Road, in how they go about doing business and their business plan and their succession plan. So I don't know if I'm answering your question well, but I think as far as the area being undesignated, that's something I'd like to get back to you on, because I'd like to check it out myself. But in terms of the individual components, since there is no mandate for those components to perform in any way, they don't need to designate or undesignate.
Well, yes, sir. What I think Mr. Howland is trying to say, like if the Crooked Road, if you wanted to leave the Crooked Road, if you wanted to quit, you know, participating in the music and the stuff, can you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I can do it now. I can do it in the future. Yeah. Thank you.
Gary, that answer your question?
Anybody else, Mr. Dalton?
Mr. Stanishaw, one of the things with the heritage area and with the National Park Service, I think I heard you indicate that if you take the money, then they're going to sort of direct some of the activities of how you spend that money, or they want some influence.
They would like for you to use that as the way national heritage areas are intended to be used.
Okay. And how is that typically used? Is that for advertising, to bring more people in? Is it for salaries? What kind of activities can that be used for?
Everything you mentioned there would not be uncommon, like the Coal Heritage area in West Virginia. They try to promote that. They put up kiosks, somewhat similar to Crooked Road, so that you can drive around and see, go right up to a kiosk in a particular county or area and learn the story of the coal mining in that.
So like in some of the national parks, kiosks, and sort of be narrated. I guess one of the bigger concerns, especially with the National Park Service, especially localities such as Witt County use a lot of federal dollars. It allows the National Park Service, the way I understand it, to actually be part of the comment period if you're trying to borrow money or do something within that heritage area. We have 40 or 50 people to comment, or agencies already, but I understand that allows them to enter that phrase sometime. And I guess if you had any experience whether they actually exercise that authority, or would exercise that authority, because if it's inconsistent with the National Park Plan, sometimes it limits our ability to do projects that locally we feel are needed. But on the bigger scale, they interfere with our desires.
And it's fairly typical that national heritage areas that do have national parks somewhere inside them have a dialogue with the national park. But typically, I mean, the National Park Service is not like on the board. If you look at the Blue Ridge Heritage area, their board is consisting of organizations that do not include the National Park Service, but they have the Parkway that goes through there. And so the Parkway folks come to meetings, but they're non-voting. And the same exists for the Coal Heritage area. They do not have, I mean, their board is made up of local people. That's who votes on that, what happens there, and puts their management plan together. So, from everything that I've done homework on for national heritage areas, for our own due diligence, I think I haven't seen evidence that there's any more strings attached to funding from the national heritage area than from other federal sources.
I'm really not concerned about the funding to you specifically. It would be, we just sent out a project here in the county, sent to 40-some federal agencies, that if you add the National Park Service that, and they send it back and say, this type of project's inconsistent with what we feel it should be in the national and heritage area. Sometimes that becomes an obstacle we can't overcome. We've had that happen with other agencies on the federal side that maybe it's not a firm and fast rule, but there's a comment that has to be addressed before the federal funding agencies will allow you access to that funding for that project, and sometimes we just give up. We just can't get that, overcome that hurdle. And I guess my concern is if you had any experience or knowledge of that to alleviate my fears.
I think we need to add that to the other question that probably would be good to get some more information on and get ourselves satisfied as to exactly what the nature of that might be.
I appreciate that. Okay, I appreciate that also. Any other
Yes.
questions? Who appoints?
The people on the board.
Crooked Road Board, in the case of the localities, it's the locality does. Typically, it would be, the board of supervisors or the town council, or city council.
I assume eventually you're going to want a resolution of support from this board. How many of the 19 counties, and I don't know how many cities or so forth are involved, have given you that and have?
We haven't solicited any. The only letters of support we've received in the absence of asking for them are, of course, the PDCs, New River Valley, Cumberland Plateau, and Mount Rogers. But yes, it is certainly our goal that we hope that we'll get broad support from throughout Southwest Virginia, from multiple sources, organizations, local government.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything?
I guess one comment that we have received, some emails, and probably rich emails or not, concerns from citizens in the county, and I mentioned that to you earlier when I talked to you. So, and we may put those in the form of a letter and ask you to respond to those too. That would be acceptable.
That would be great.
Okay. All right, well, thank both of you for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you.
If I could say one thing
Yeah, surely.
related to the above. The brochure that I handed out, page 24, you'll see is that same map that we saw. And this is our brand new brochure. We do 100,000 of these to Virginia Weapon Centers. And anybody contacts us about information on Crooked Road, that's what they get. And you'll notice those red dots all across the map. When I speak about the Crooked Road region being rich throughout its length and breadth, look at those red dots. Those are affiliated venues and festivals of Crooked Road. And they go all the way up there to West Virginia, near about. And we have two wonderful new ones that are right here. Whitfield Community College's Jamboree, a monthly Jamboree, and Ron Kine's wonderful Big Walker Mountain Cookout. And I'll also mention too, that you all were well represented in the very first Crooked Road Music Festival. You had Elizabeth McCrell from the county, who was part of the Singing Styles Workshop, and we had there are 8 fiddlers conventions in Southwest Virginia, and we invited the winners from it to come compete, the best of the best, and the winning bluegrass band was Adamant Peak and Mountain Thunder. And if you all had any interest in recognizing them for that achievement, I thought it would be well deserved.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. This time we'll move to the next order of all business, and that is the Speedwell Water additive bid items.
Mr. Chairman, several months ago, or a couple months ago, we opened the bids to the Speedwell Water System. I asked you to remove 2 additive bid items. One is Johnny Lane, and the second one is the SCADA system. Rural Development notified us that if we can award those 2 additive bid items, which are 100%, are funded with 100% grant, they were going to withdraw that money, put it, award it to someone else. We negotiated, and I've talked to the contractors. I think it's now to our best interest to award those 2 additive bid items. I have talked to VDOT and the contractor. The contractor has agreed that on Johnny Lane, that he would delay the construction of that until after Johnny Lane's advertised and built by VDOT. I ask the consideration to award those two ads for bid items.
Do a motion?
Sure. Go ahead. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we add these two items back to the project.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded, these two items be added back to the Speedwell Phase 1 water project. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Horning? Aye.
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 Uh-huh.
And aye. 7-0. Thank you. We'll now move to NACO benefits. We had a speaker concerned about why the county was joining VACO and NACO, and I asked Mr. Dalton to look up some numbers that he is going to present to you as some of the benefits that we receive from belonging to VACO and NACO.
Well, annually, our dues to NACO are $572 per year, and VACO's about $6,400, I believe. As our participation, so far, NACO, with citizens in the county using the discount drug card program, we've saved over $200,000. Last month, I think there was 83 participants and over $3,000 in 1 month. We've also included a summary of those savings that the county citizens have had over the years. I went back and looked at our in our VACO. We are in part of their risk management pool or insurance. We're self-insured. The first year that we entered that, we saved over $25,000 as part of the VACO insurance program. Currently, when you compare that to running through a national chain insurance company, we save over $50,000 a year, which more than covers the dues and participating in those authorities. So it's quite a savings to being a member. Without that membership, you can't participate in these programs. So it's really a benefit on the NACO side to our citizens, and on the VACO side, it's a very much benefit to our taxpayers in the county.
Our dividends are almost our premiums. Is that not true?
It is.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Any other business, Mr. Dalton?
I do not have any old business.
Any board member have any other old business? And we'll move to new business, Building and Grounds Committee.
Okay, I guess Joe was absent, and I chaired the meeting. The Building and Grounds Committee met on Tuesday, October 2nd, 2012, and would request that the board consideration of the following. Number one, to accept the low bid from Lee Hartman and Sons in the amount of $22,365.40 to amend and appropriate this amount to 1101-48202. The bid includes the video equipment and installation.
I think we should take these as separate items.
Yes, and we do have Jenna with us tonight. If you have any questions about that bidding process and what you're getting, the video and recording system.
Well, let's just let Jenna tell us what we're getting, and we'll let us know if we think like it.
I don't have all my papers with me, but I can tell you. What you're getting with it is 4 video cameras. One that'll be placed roughly above your head, so it'll shoot the podium for whoever's talking. One that'll be at the very back of the room, shoot the entire board at the same time, and 2 on each side. You're also going to get a control room set up that'll be located in the server room that'll take all the video feeds and put them together, and we'll be able to switch back and forth between cameras while we're up there. And it also includes a component that takes that video feed and sends it to a computer so that it's automatically downloaded as we're switching it, so there's no edit. There's also a component that takes all the input from your microphones that you already have and puts them in that system, and then exports them to the control room to a mixer that you get in office, so we can adjust the recording levels up there, and we don't have to do post editing as part of that.
Will this enable us to go live with a cable company we so choose to?
If you choose to in the future, there's one other component that you'll have to buy. Other than that singular component, you're completely ready to live stream if you wanted to. But it will give you the ability to record it and send it to cable companies. They've already agreed to putting it on whenever we'd like it to be on and put it on the internet.
And I'd asked Jen, I don't know if y'all had a chance to look at it or not, but she sent you the link from Montgomery County, which uses basically the same setup.
They use pretty much the same setup. The only difference is there's HD, there's SD. There we didn't see it was exponentially more to go with HD.
Well, we look better in standard definition.
Yeah, definitely. It should be better.
But, you know, the other, but another advantage of it too is that we won't have to wire the,
Mics?
yeah, these mics that they'll have, I don't know, I call them gooseneck mics or,
Yes,
you know.
that's a little cost in addition to the Lee Hartman bid. It wasn't included in the bid, but we did put in that in our letter to Mr. Dalton to get some gooseneck microphones, so you guys won't have to put them on your lapels, just to basically help reduce some background noise or any cough or sneeze, you can back away, and it'll just help control audio levels overall.
Okay.
If you watch the video, there will be no such thing as anonymity anymore. I mean, because when you speak, your face is, you know, right there, so everyone can tell who is saying what, and it also will give us the opportunity to show people who are speaking, like where Jenna is.
And if you do watch it, Montgomery County does have a few shots where it looks like it's straight down their heads. Ours aren't going to be placed like that. We're going to make sure it's looking at your face and not up.
Well, we'll have makeup 30 minutes prior to each morning. 30 minutes?
I think an hour.
But this will be a quality that cable companies will not mind.
Exactly. It'll be very good quality.
Anybody else have any other questions?
And they'll be archived on the website, is that how it works?
Well, more than likely it'll be archived on YouTube or Ustream and then linked directly to the website, and their archiving will be within.
So people will be able to, if they have a cable company, if you have DirecTV or Dish, that's not it, but they'll be able to see it through cable. They'll also be able to see it from the county's website.
Yes, and we will advertise the times it'll be on cable and what channel it'll be on.
Plus, it also gives us the capability, if we want to record planning commission meetings or anything that's any kind of meeting that's in here.
Okay.
And how many bidders do we have?
We had 2. We had 5 companies contact me with interest and 2 sent their bids. And Lee Hartman is the most local out of all.
They've been in this business for 50 years.
And I did have an opportunity to go and test out some of the equipment a couple weeks ago at an expo that Lee Hartman and Son had. And I can tell you it's very good equipment.
The initial cost is $22,365. What's the ongoing cost with it?
With this system, from their specs and what they quoted, there really is no ongoing maintenance. Once they come in and set it up, it's yours and you got it. The cost of the DVDs to get them to the cable companies, that's all you got.
Because we're already paying you to do that.
Exactly. I'm going to be up there. You guys won't see my face down here as much.
We can change seats. Okay. Thank you, Jim. All right, we have a recommendation coming from the Building and Grounds Committee to accept the bid from Lee Hartman of $22,365.40. Coming from a committee, it does not need a second. Is there any other discussion? All right, we'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
And aye. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, number 2, to accept the following bids for the completion of the emergency service building at Fort Chisholm. There are 3 companies that's going to finish the building, different components. I'll go through all 3 of them. A is Home and Commercial Cleaning. for the interior framing and sheet metal work in the amount of $17,338. B is repass plumbing and electrical in the amount of $4,600 for the plumbing and electrical work. And C is Century Services in the amount of $3,874.84 for the HVAC system.
I guess we soon need to take these individually. First one being home and commercial cleaning for the framing and sheet metal work in the amount of $17,338. Coming from a committee, it does not need a second. Is there any further discussion concerning this? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. 20. Aye. And aye. The next part of it is the repass plumbing and electrical in the amount of $4,600 for the plumbing and electrical service to the emergency service building. Again, it's coming from the committee. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Hall.
Aye.
And the last part of it is Century Service in the amount of $3,874.84 for the HVAC system. Is there any discussion?
Now, what kind of equipment was quoted? Whose equipment?
I do not know. Are you asking if it's Bream, Carrier, or, I assume that's the question you're asking, Jeff?
Yeah, for that size volume of building, that number don't seem realistic to me.
What you're getting for that, Joe, is the drug room and the restroom.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be a wee bitty unit then.
It is.
Okay, so they are gonna come out on that one, okay. But we're just doing the drug room and the toilet facility.
Yes.
Now, what about the drugs that are in the unit? They gotta take them out every time they come in off of a call?
Well, you're heating the building in there. My understanding, that was a concern for low temperatures, and I assume that...
So most of their drugs have a high tolerance for heat, like 89 or 90 degrees, something like that.
And my understanding from when we talked to them, their concern was low temperatures on that medicine.
A lot of the pen-type insulins now have a top level of 89 degrees in storage. And with our climate here, I guess we could guess that it would never get over 89 in a unit inside the building. But before we put that unit in and spend the money, I'll vote for it because it's a reasonable price. But I'd like to know for sure that they're not going to come back once they wake up and say we got to have another unit to keep the truck bay cool. Because if we're going to do that, it ought to all happen at one time.
And that, if you're going to do that, we get, 3 vehicles, and that's a big air conditioning unit.
Yeah, you're getting up 10 tons or better to do that much space.
Is there any other rescue squad building that has air conditioning?
Haven't been in, I think part of the rural treatment is.
Where the trucks are parked?
No.
Okay, that's what you were concerned about, yeah.
If I can interrupt,
We get it right here.
we don't cool our ambulance bags. We don't carry insulin in the trucks. It's not part of the drug boxes for the county. Most of the drugs that we do carry tolerate a fairly high temperature. Usually it's the winter time and the cold that gets you. So we cool our meeting area, our apartment, and the kitchen area, and the offices, but not the bays. If all else fails, you can always crack a bay and that'll let air in. So there's no air conditioning in the bays.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I think we're ready to vote. Mr. Horning? Aye.
Okay, number 3 is to remove lot 30 from the Art Davis lease for grading purposes.
Okay. This would not require a roll call vote. I assume Mr. Davis has been made aware of this, and, okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Question about that one.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought
They
they
going to continue to mow it?
There will be no mowing down there.
Made it all,
Most of that site will be,
so there's no residual that we're going to have to maintain.
there will be some residual to maintain, but I would suppose that when we rebid it out, his lease is expiring in December, that once we get it reseeded, we'll allow mowing to resume there once it's
Okay.
established.
Thanks, sir.
Not only mowing, I assume you can put these cattle back on.
It's not fenced,
It's not them. She's just mowing.
just mowing.
You can put well-trained cattle.
All right.
Shock collars.
I think we are ready to call for the vote. All in favor of removing lot 30 from Mr. Davis' lease, please say aye. All right, last part.
Okay, to cancel the Wood County RC Flyers agreement on lot 30.
All right. Anybody have any questions concerning this one?
We have, Mr. Hausman's discussed, we discussed it, we've sent a letter, basically we've given them some additional time to, as long as they don't see any dirt and the October monsoon here being stripped away around their facilities for their building, they can take their time to get it out there.
Good.
Okay. All right. All in favor, please say aye. Thank you. We'll now move to the Wood County subdivision ordinance of 2012-5. We've held a public hearing concerning this ordinance. I think the major changes had to do with setback, which I think they're in here, which most board members agreed with, of 25, or was it 35, 10, 10, 10?
10, 10, 16, and 35.
35, yeah. There's no other major questions concerning this.
Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion that we accept this Wood County subdivision ordinance, 2012. Is that?
2012-5.
Okay, 2012-5.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, there is major clarification that this moves a small subdivision to the purview of county staff. That's in there, correct?
Right. Is there a second? I need a second, then we'll discuss.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a second now. Yes, sir.
As with conversion of any ordinance, we currently have proposals or submittals into the planning commission staff. I would ask that you include in your motion, even this will take effect tonight, but if it was presented prior to your approval of this under the old subdivision ordinance, that it allowed to continue through that so that it doesn't cost the citizens to go back and change their plat and information on their plat. If they're okay with continuing on with their submittals, that we'd be allowed to sign those submittals that are in the old.
Well, okay, now I'll amend my motion, if I may, Mr. Chairman, to include that nothing's done to hold anybody up.
And what that affects is one specific, down on the rural estate, they have subdivided out a 40-acre, and they want to make a 50-foot right-of-way, and under the new ordinance, it doesn't allow that 50-foot, it's got to be 100-foot frontage, so that will allow them to accomplish what they want to do.
Okay.
I had a call from Mr. Crouchy, the Planning Commission Chairman, and he just requested me that, I would look at some of the the setbacks in the surrounding counties, and that was a task within itself. If you go and try to get on their websites and go through the zoning ordinances that most of them has, they're different as far as zoning, you know, it's agriculture and rural, and it's just a whole lot of different setbacks than what we're proposing. And what I looked at most of them, you know, as far as setbacks on the sides and backs for residential is 10 foot.
They are 10 foot.
Most of them are 10 foot.
Okay.
Some is down to 5 foot in some cases.
But in actuality, in actuality, since farm buildings are exempt, right, from the setback, is that not?
No.
Okay. Is there not some exemption for agricultural buildings?
They do not require a building permit.
Don't require a building permit, but they still have to meet the setbacks. Okay. Okay.
No, and one of his big, you know, is obstructing of you like somebody wanted to put up a barn. You know, and I thought, well, you know, if you put it 5, 10 foot or 25 foot, if it's a big barn, it's going to obstruct their view anyway. I said, you know, 10 to 15 feet is not going to change that much.
Anybody else?
I thought we were going back to the old setbacks. Guess I was just mistaken.
That was the request from a couple of speakers.
Yeah, I know
that
that.
came.
But I thought when we discussed it, that's what I thought we did.
That's 1035 in here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it says in here.
Yeah. That's not my understanding. Okay, we have actually an amended motion that actually says we are going to accept the motion is, the way I understand it, to accept the 2012-5 subdivision ordinance, but continue with the present ordinance if it's already in the system, it's going through.
So it doesn't delay anybody.
Doesn't delay anyone. Okay.
Or require resubmittal.
I wonder if we shouldn't maybe just do that in 2 motions. Would that be a little less confusing?
1 or 2, I think the intent, the way it's stated, is good enough. Because they gotta be tied together.
Lisa has a question. I know you, go ahead, Lisa.
I just had a really quick question as far as the wording goes on it, that it is in there, that it includes previous subdivisions and lands that all set
It
back.
does. It says
Okay.
that. Yes. It does say that.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to take that as one motion then, okay? Mr. Housen? All in favor of the motion? Well, it's still a roll call vote on this. It's very important motion.
It is ordinance, so you need to...
Yeah, we have to have it. That's true. Mr. Hall?
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Thank you. Emergency Communications Center. Memorandum of understanding. Mr. Dalton, you want to speak to this? I believe you've been meeting with these other 2 municipalities in this in Wood County.
Currently, this is the latest version of the agreement between the town of Whitfield, Wood County, and the town of Rural Retreat. It spells out the setting up an advisory committee that the county would oversee the operation of the Emergency Communications Center, and it would be consolidated into one. It also spells out that if anybody decides not to fund it and leaves it, they lose their membership on the advisory committee. So there's specific things such as a town police force, we would not dispatch those. However, we would continue to dispatch fire and rescue, but just not they're the town extra level of police.
And that's with Retreat and Whitfield?
I would assume Whitfield didn't join, the same thing would be.
Well, wait a minute, maybe I didn't hear. Rural Retreat?
And with anybody or us.
Okay.
I doubt we drop out, but since it's in our...
Okay, but right now, all three entities... have
We met
agreed-
last week, yes. Rural Retreat wanted to know why they should pay to be a member.
Mhm.
And we explained that best we could, and I think the mayor said, I think I can explain it back to why we have to participate at this point in time. That's what he said when he left, anyway.
Okay. All right, good.
If somebody drops out, does the cost get reallocated to the?
It does. The formula to start with will be based, since we don't really have any real data, and it's going to a strictly 911 center. All the administrative calls that the sheriff deals with, what's the temperature, the school's going to close today, and all that other stuff won't be coming through there. So when it starts off, it'll be distributed based off population. There's, let's say, I can remember the numbers, 29,235 people in Wythe County, according to the census. There was 1,483 in the town of Rural Retreat, 8,211 or so in the town of Wythe, which left about 20,000 or 19,000 or so out in Wythe County. So you divide, we ended up with about 66% of the cost. Rural Retreat ends up about 5.67% of the cost, and the rest of it is the town of Whitfields are 32 or so percent, 30% maybe. And after that initial year, then the second component will kick in, that based off the number of 911 calls that come in, you will have 50% of it be based off population, 50% of it will be based off the number of 911 calls coming in from your locality. And then you will get, if, let's say Wythe County, it turns out that you have 70% of the calls and 67% of the population, you're going to be somewhere about 68.5% of the total cost funding. And where you're saving is really not personnel, but between the three entities. If everyone had a dispatch center, the equipment runs $750,000 now. So that's where the savings is at. So if you don't have to spend that $750,000, if you're 70% of the cost in 5 years when you have to replace it, or 10 years, then you're saving 30% of that total cost. The town of Whitfield, in reverse, where they'd have to pay 100% of the cost of buying that, they end up with 30%, they're saving 70% of the cost. But if you look at it strictly by population and numbers and calls, then everybody is really based off availability and usage are paying their fair share.
Questions? I assume we need a motion for you to sign this memorandum of understanding?
I think at this point in time, continue negotiating.
Negotiation, okay. Just use this as informational right now.
I think if you'll accept it, if this is acceptable at this point, that we can continue to work with them.
Well, I assumed all along that's what we were, most board members.
Well, I think sometimes we forget to ask. That's the reason.
Okay. All right, we have a LODA trust. I wasn't too sure concerning with the jail Mr. Dalton, do you mind explaining this to us a little better?
Actually, it's anybody that is participating in the LOTA Trust, which we are, through VACA, and it was a little hard for me to read, but they've asked for some clarifications of the agreement, and that's basically where we're going with this, that you understand that they're the administrator, how it's being done, and they're responsible for you're responsible for the payment per year to that LOTA Trust.
What does LOTA stand for?
Line of Duty Act.
Okay. Now,
And this is when we've opted out of the VRS from this.
VRS.
well, I assume we will need a motion for you to sign.
Yes. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Well, is there any substantial changes in the agreement that we had?
No.
Because we've been in this.
We've been in it. There's some, I guess, points of law and all those little things. The definitions and trust provisions that they've clarified, but it's still under the same provisions. We pay so much per person, the Sheriff's Department and police, and currently. They administer it. And actually, VRS asked for these changes to be consistent with their plan.
Okay. All right. We'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Twain? Aye. And aye. Thank you. All right, we had Annie B. here, and we mentioned legislative items to her. Mr. Dalton, we have to have these in this Friday. Is there anything particular that...
We have asked Ms. Crockett Stark, Delegate Carrick, and others to put in legislation in this coming General Assembly to address the transportation issue at Progress Park. I would think that the board would just send a letter of support and ask that she introduce that legislation. Even though we don't have a prospect, it appears that if we can get some planning money started on that so that the design could happen, that just makes a pivotal point for a heavy volume truck user, etc., into the park. And if the plans are ready, then the funding is easier to obtain and work it towards this interchange improvement thing that the district and VDOT is headed towards in Wood County on the overlap section.
Does anybody, other member, have any particular legislation that they'd be interested in?
I believe, if I may, the school system has some things that they'd like for us to include, from funding of SOLs and fully funding of issues they feel are important that have been transferred from the state of Virginia back to localities. And the third thing is we just passed a resolution a few weeks ago, or a few meetings ago, concerning aid to localities. I think we need to ask for legislation to return, that they end that, returning us writing checks back to the state of Virginia in the amount of $40 and $50 million a year.
I assume that what I'd like to do is just direct you to contact Delegate Crockett Stark and Delegate Senator Carrico with these items.
Everybody on the board is good with that.
I think we can do that. We don't need a motion for that. And also maybe contact the school and get anything that they would like to add to that. Do you have any other business?
I do not, sir.
Okay. Any other member have any other new business? All right, we had scheduled a recess, but I've been told that the purpose of this recess was to meet with the Lead Mine Rescue Squad, and they're not going to be available due to homecoming or something?
I got a call right prior to the meeting, and they said they had a parade, and Fort Chisel's homecoming is this Friday night. They had a parade and a bonfire, and they needed to squat there, and some of the members were, I guess everybody knows the trooper got killed. Some members was wanting to attend the funeral, and some of the board, their executive board members were working second shift this week.
Can we set another date, Mr. Dalton? And if they don't show at that date, we can recess again, because do we recess, we have to recess to a specific date, is that not right?
Date and time.
Date and time. Does anyone have any guidance here for the chair as to how you want to handle this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can we take a break? We don't have to go out together. Let Mr. Reeves or Mr. Dalton contact their spokesperson and see what time tomorrow they can meet. This is no different than what we went through with another agency. We've asked them to be here, asked them what time they can be here. I'm available from 5:30 in the morning till whatever time tomorrow night they can be here. We asked them to be here.
Or maybe give us a date and time within the next 2 or 3 days. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I'd be a little bit more for pushing, let's do it tomorrow, because of the length of time that rehearsals could take part, could happen. We had asked for this to be a spontaneous, quick meeting. You contacted them today, is that correct? I think we ought to stick to that plan if we can. The question is, can we call and ask her? Is there
We can recess for the next few minutes. I'll recess this for 10 minutes, Mr. Dalton. And by that time, we'll come back and decide what we're going to do. We're in the recess.